out last night, and didn't find out. I've been here a bunch of times, but I love the food scene here in San Francisco. And joining us right now is Jessi Chadd, who is the Chief Wealth Officer at Aspyre. Wealth Planning?
Wealth Partners.
Wealth Partners.
Yeah.
So close.
Yeah.
Jessi, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Chuck.
So I know you had a great session yesterday. I hate to miss it because I was recording some of these sessions, but I heard a lot of fantastic feedback on it. And you were covering what's really an important and I think kind of under-discussed topic, which is taking care of ourselves as advisors. So let me tell you something. We've dealt with a lot of advisors transitioning from the broker-dealer space to the RIA space. As you might imagine, very stressful.
Yes.
So I would imagine that's a real important time to give some thought to taking care of yourself while you're managing a fairly stressful situation.
Yeah,
Yes?
absolutely.
What advice would you have?
Yeah, so I think the thing that comes to mind the most is, having never had to gone through that transition, but talk to people that have, seems like there's lots of decisions to be made. And this is advice I give to clients all the time, but it works for everybody. When you go through a period of transition, first of all, understand you're not going to be at a new normal right away. Mm-hmm. There's phases to a transition. Yeah. And decision fatigue is very real when it seems like there's all these choices and all these things I need to figure out. So I use a simple tool that I get from the transitions community that's called a decision-free zone. It's not free of making decisions, it's a freedom in decision making where you think about, what do I need to decide now? What can I put off till soon? And what really can wait until later? And it's permission to not have to do everything all at once. And I find that when people go through transition, that fatigue is very real, the overwhelm really sets in, and that tool can just, you almost see people physically just go, okay, I can do this. Because I can imagine how overwhelming it must be.
Yeah, so I love that. I think we're going to incorporate that. So something that we're adding soon to goRIA.com is a section called the Toolbox.
Oh, wonderful.
And some things you want to think about, or checklists and so on and so forth. And we are absolutely going to use that, if we may. Hopefully it is a trademarked or,
It's through the Financial Transitions Institute and Susan Bradley. So I don't know if you were familiar with Susan Bradley, but you should reach out to her because her team would be instrumental in helping people work through that transition.
We will definitely do that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, when someone is going RIA, right, you have to figure out which custodian or custodians, what tech stack, what do you need for your account aggregation system, for your financial planning system, for your CRM system, how do you consolidate all that? And I think it would be great to not just have one big list, which is frankly what we were going to have, but rather we're going to segment it based on this. Like literally, I think it's a great idea. Things you need to decide on now, things you need to decide on soon, and things you could decide on whenever. I think that really is super helpful. I like that a lot.
And keeping track of, somebody in the transitions community said this to me yesterday, they suggested that should be part of the talk I did, and they were absolutely right. Yeah. And then they were saying how with their clients they do a completed section. And a celebration section. Yeah. Because that's the other thing, when you're working through a transition, you want to make sure that you are celebrating too. It's a big decision, it's a big move, and to just constantly as planners stay go, go, go on what's next, what's next, I don't find we celebrate enough.
I'm all for celebrating.
Yeah.
That sounds good. So now you touched upon something, and I wasn't aware of this before we started chatting here today. So there's a whole organization dedicated to transition planning?
Yeah, there is.
Do you want to talk about that some?
I love talking about that.
Go ahead.
So it's Susan Bradley wrote a book in the 90s called Sudden Money, and then she started the Sudden Money Institute, and the Financial Transitions Institute is the advisor-facing side. And what I find is people that come over to the RIA space, especially from the broker-dealer, they're going to have a lot more freedom on how they work with their clients.
Without question.
That is one thing I hear from my friends on the broker-dealer side is we have these great tools, but then they struggle to get them approved by compliance, and all of that is good. It's protecting our clients, right? But sometimes these are really good tools and they're safe, right? Right. So a lot of people come into the transitions community once they've come over to the RIA space. But we're a community, there's a credential, there's an education track, and what it's about is helping clients work through their big life transitions and how we show up not only to help them with the financial side, but the personal side too. So if I'm sitting with somebody that's recently widowed, I have the checklist of everything that she needs to think about in terms of the paperwork, in terms of the transferring the accounts, in terms of the life insurance and all of that. But if she's in a state of overwhelm and deep in her grief, my checklist doesn't mean anything. And I need to work with the person that's across the table from me and not just the demographic across the table from me.
You know, this kind of reminds me a bit of behavioral finance,
Yeah.
which I think is also, no, it used to be under-discussed. Now it's getting close to being discussed enough, but still needs to be discussed more.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the greatest values us advisors deliver to our clients. It's not picking this stock or that stock or this fund or that fund. It's the planning work also, for sure, but it's the behavioral finance. Like, help them understand when the stock market is crashing, don't worry about it. We have a plan that's accounting for that, or anything else. So adding a transition or a layer perhaps, or an overlay of transition support, I think that's really brilliant.
Yeah, you got to just know what people are facing and what they're going through. So with this recent market movement, you know, I had people reaching out that maybe wouldn't have reached out before, but it's because they're approaching a transition. Maybe they're approaching retirement, or they were going to make a big business deal. And then this tick up in uncertainty and volatility in the market, it feels different. And I'll say that to them. I look at them and I say, this is going to feel different than it has maybe in the past. So behavioral finance, some people call it the soft side of financial planning. I don't like that because it kind of poo-poos the importance of it. I call it the mental side of money.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great place to put a pin in it for today.
Yeah, well, thanks, Chuck.
All right,
this was really great.
Jessi Chadd, thanks a lot for joining us.
Appreciate it.
All right, and we still have another 3 or 4 segments left to go, so stay tuned with us. I'll be back in another 45 minutes with some more content. Thanks for joining us. And Jessi, thanks again. That was great.
Thanks, Chuck.
Stepping on my mic.